Fagan, and you're listening to the Voice of Insurance podcast, produced in association with Advantage Go. Pick and choose your own best-of-breed insurtech and data providers with Advantage Go's ecosystem. Today's guest is making a return to the show after a 3-year gap. That's way too long for me because the last time she was on the podcast, she made such a strong impression that I described her as a dream interviewee. But there are good reasons for the gap, not least a year's gardening leave as she moved to take on one of the biggest jobs in broking. Luckily for all of us, Lucy Clarke, President of Risk and Broking at Willis, is back on the show. She's still the dream interviewee, and given her important new role and Willis's restated ambitions to restore the sheen to this historical jewel in the global broking crown, she's more of a dream guest than ever. This podcast doesn't disappoint. In this interview, I found Lucy on top form, fully established in her new role and clearly revelling in the task in hand. Here, we unpick all of Willis's strategy, from its ambitious return to reinsurance to its audacious digital broking initiatives. And we put all of this in the wider context of Lucy's extraordinarily broad view of the market's ebbs and flows, as well as its permanent structural changes and external opportunities and threats, such as those presented by AI. Nothing was off the menu, and with Lucy, what you see is what you get. Her drive and passion are always on display. Here's someone with their sleeves rolled up, and clearly enjoying a dream job scenario unfolding in front of them. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Enjoy the podcast. Lucy, welcome to the Voice of Insurance.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for the invitation.
It's really good to see you. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Really looking forward to it.
Just in case anyone who's listening out there doesn't know who you are, give us a quick run through of your career today and how you've got to where you are.
Well, what I'm doing right now is I look after risk and broking for WTW. So that is the Willis insurance broking part of the business that you know very well. And that is also includes insurer consulting and technology, ICT, which is the carrier-focused part of the business, focused on a real long history in consulting and leading-edge technology solutions.
How long have you been broking?
I've been in London for most of my career. I came here in 1990. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and I'm an energy broker by trade.
Well, I suppose, is it hard to come from Houston, Texas without being an energy broker?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. It's a nice pedigree for an energy broker.
Yes, it's nice to be able to say Willis again. So that's one thing. There's been a lot of, I suppose I would describe it as resetting. We had a big investor day that was billed as being, certainly to me, I felt it as being, this is where you've come in, a new management team, a new style, and things are going to be re-expressed and reset your aspirations and your strategy. Why don't you summarize what that was all about?
Sure. And let me just say that I don't really think of it as a reset of our strategy. I just want to, maybe to answer the question well, I just need to take you back probably to 3 years ago, which is the last time we set out our strategy. And if you can think back to what was happening then, when they set this strategy out in the fourth quarter of 21, the Aon merger had been terminated in July or August of that year. A whole bunch of people had left the business. They didn't want to be part of a merged business. We weren't being invited to client tenders anymore.
And obviously, you weren't doing reinsurance anymore.
We weren't doing reinsurance anymore. We'd lost a significant amount of business. And so it was an incredibly tough period for that group of people. One of the things that I've consistently said that was so attractive to me about joining here was to join a group of people who could pull off what these people have pulled off. In the face of all of that, they just set about making a new plan. Sleeves rolled up. That was when they unveiled the specialization strategy. They launched what I would consider today to be the leading digital strategy in the market. They kept good people. They hired a bunch of new good people and really set out to turn the business around and had a 3-year plan to do that. And they did that. And so really what we did in December 24 at the Investor Day was just to say, building on those foundations, what's our plan now? And I would just say that that strategy yeah, we've got a specialization strategy that's totally working. So that is really underpinning everything. We're going to take advantage of the fact that we have an advantage in the tech and analytics part of the business. And we're going to maximize the advantage we have as a global broker with really strong businesses around the world. So I wouldn't say it's a reset. I would say it's a more of a carry forward.
It's interesting, actually. I've always associated Willis with being kind of first foot forward on tech for many years, probably first broker to really get into electronic placing, all sorts of things, and Russia-Con initiative, always being behind it and being a pioneer on a lot of these things. And so there are three tech things that came out of that Investor Day that I was sort of doing my homework before I came to this meeting today. You've got broking platform, and you've got Neuron, which is a global digital marketplace, and also Gemini, which is your London-specific thing. So run us through all that. What's the main overarching theme behind that? Is it all about just making things operationally as smooth as possible, as friction-free as possible, cutting costs and just speeding up things?
From new technologies to rising costs, in today's fast-moving insurance market, keeping up with change isn't easy.
That's why the Insurance Network runs leading events for insurers and brokers to tackle strategic challenges, rethink operating models, and unlock the power of data and tech.
Join conferences like TinTech, Delegated Authority Strategy Day, London Market Claims, and the Data Jam to stay ahead of the curve.
You can also join the network for free and take part in focused special interest group meetings on the challenges top of your agenda.
Search TIN Events for the latest schedule of conferences and meetings.
That's tin.events.
I would say that they're all part of an overarching global placement strategy. And the placement strategy has a number of themes to it, and one of those is the digital placement strategy. And also, I just want to say I agree with you on some stuff. I agree on your external perspective of Willis as kind of leading the market in terms of technology. I felt similarly. It was one of my external perspectives coming here. And so I had the experience of, we would say stuff like, oh, Willis won the tender in the room because of some analytics work they did or something they demonstrated live in the room. And so I'd heard that a lot. So I was real interested to see what's here. And it's hugely impressive. The broking platform is now in 18 countries, and at its most functional, it can receive data in whatever format, make it structured, create a submission. It can run core models over that submission. It can send it out to the markets that you choose. It offers you participations of Willis proprietary facilities that it would fit, and it can eventually bind the business. So today, about 25% of our premiums running through it. I would say by the end of this year, let's say our top 8 countries will be 90%, say, in those countries, and the rest of them by the end of 26. And we're trying to improve the functionality the whole time, but we're all real impressed with what we've seen from the broking platform. Neuron has been developed by ICT, the group we talked about at the beginning. Some phenomenal capabilities there. So think of it like an API connecting the broking platform to the markets. And so that platform, it also enables algorithmic underwriting, all of that automatic follow, rules-based engines that underwriters can use. So should really smooth out that process. That is not out there yet. We're just developing that right now. So that should be up and running during the course of 25. So Gemini, I wouldn't call it a London facility. I would call it just a Willis placement facility.
Right.
And so it will be one of the facilities that gets offered up on broking platform, and it applies to any business in scope. So some stuff will be out of scope, like affinity, and it offers an automatic follow line at a discount to the lead terms, and part of that discount is for the client. So that should be launched by the middle of the year, I would say.
So it sounds really interesting. So within a couple of years, be a really genuinely fully digital broker with all these different systems interacting and connecting in different places.
I mean, broking platforms are already happening, but it will be amazing to have it all connected. I think it's important to remember we're not envisaging some world where everything is done by digital placement. It is just to make the transaction easier and smoother. And there'll be different solutions depending on what segment of the market you're in.
When you get to that stage, we're talking a lot about AI at the moment. So where do you think, within broking, where's the best applications of AI that you're seeing? Because, of course, when you get to the point where you're nearly 100%, there's always going to be a small rump of a few things that literally still have to be done on paper or whatever because they're too complicated. But other things, when you get to that point, where do you think AI is really going to kick in?
Well, for us, and probably for lots of other people too right now, we have a central place where we're running the AI work. And there are hundreds of ideas in terms of what capabilities we can use. Realistically, and right now, we're mostly using AI to change data from unstructured to structured. And we're using AI to compare policy documents and really basic contractual language, looking at a client's contract and then looking at the insurance product and seeing where there are gaps.
And that's sort of really trying to measure the value of what the insurance they've already got and what can you offer them in the market and whether that's actually worth more than what they've already got. Because it's always difficult to try and value what are the terms and conditions actually worth. I suppose that would be something that would be fantastic to get an AI to do.
Yeah. And there are those capabilities for sure. We're just monitoring it really carefully.
I suppose once you have a fully digital platform, of course, you can experiment with these things, obviously in a controlled environment, but also you can find out quickly whether they're working or not, and then you can quickly iterate to do something else and say, well, that doesn't work, so here we can move on. Whereas perhaps in that old paper-based world, you have to commit to something, you have to really look at it, and then it takes you about 5 years to work out whether it's working or not, and then you realize we actually didn't add any value.
You never find out.
And it's just another paper process that you've committed to. What's the state of the market at the moment? It's an interesting market. We've come through this 1/1 renewal where competition's returned a little bit of animal spirits in the market again. Is that putting a smile on your face?
Yes, I'm excited about where the market is. I think that it's been a long, hard road for clients. And
I remember last time we spoke, and it was over 2 years ago, you were, not to say a lone voice, but you were one of the only people I'd spoken to. Most people were relatively excited about the hard market because obviously if you're a carrier, you were excited because it was time to sort of rebalance everything. But actually many of the brokers also were kind of saying, well, it was probably a bit overdue. But you were one of the only ones who was sticking up for the client, saying, come on, the client's taken a beating now 4 years in a row. Now it's time maybe to have at least it probably fell on deaf ears at that time.
I think the team,
but now the market's a bit more competitive.
Definitely. And I think, our perspective then was, come on, guys, enough is enough. So really happy to inevitably see what's happening in the market now. And I don't think it's like a really one-sided thing because you still hear underwriters talking about underwriting profit and there's still plenty of rating adequacy, or at least obviously enough of them believe that to be okay with where the rates are. And I don't hear people saying, yeah, we're writing for income. Like I definitely think there's still discipline in the market, but I think that the market's being more reasonable about where it is and to make sure that clients get recognized. This has not been an easy period of time for them. So I'm excited about it. I think it's only going one direction. Obviously, there are pockets in the market where things will be different. Some real heavy cat stuff or a certain industry or your loss record's terrible or something. But largely, I think people will be seeing improving conditions.
Every underwriter I've had in the program is probably now posting their second year of 80% something combined ratios. And they're all saying, yes, I'm still happy to grow. Most of the things I'm seeing are still very rate adequate. I'm happy to write more of this at this sort of level, but I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. But at least that's going to give you a lot more optionality. Well, I suppose when we were talking 2 years ago, effectively we were talking about it's the insurance industry competing with itself with either non-insurance or self-insurance or insuring through the commercial market. So what they were competing with was big clients saying, well, actually, I think I'll insure this myself at these prices.
Yeah. And there's a lot of competition out there and, you can feel that. And if you've been in the market for a long time, man, you can see it coming over the horizon. And so definitely expect our clients are in for a good period of time here.
Obviously, we've had some quite large cat activity at the end of last year with Hurricane Milton. Now we've got the LA wildfires. Obviously, substantial. Has it affected the animal spirits at all? Do you think it's going to be down to specific? Did you specifically had a loss here?
I think it is very specific. I mean, the wildfires are an absolutely massive loss, very surprising kind of magnitude. 40 to 50 billion, I guess now is the sort of numbers that we're talking about. But even a loss that big, maybe there was a pause, but I don't really see it affecting the direct markets other than what people look to do in terms of California.
And in terms of business flows then, what often happens, obviously, we know that some of those business flows are cyclical. If we're saying we get into a more competitive market, obviously you've got a fantastic viewpoint, and particularly as now that viewpoint's getting more and more digital, you can really see it. You could probably sort of dial up on your desk and see minute by minute how things are doing. What's your sense of business flows into those excess and surplus lines and into global surplus markets, a bit like London, for example, London, Bermuda, and other places?
So I think that it's happening exactly like it happens at every point in the cycle, where more business is staying in its local market. It's not a huge difference today, but you can see that happening. Tough business is still coming to London, coming to excess and surplus lines markets, but that is what happens every single time. So it's expected, but we're not expecting a huge wave backwards, but it's happening.
And in that restatement of your strategy back in December, there was a restatement again that MGAs would be part of that strategy. That's something that's always ebbing and flowing. Some of those flows seem to have been more permanent, that's just a permanent change in the way people are doing things.
Yeah.
But because there's some really great MGAs adding a huge amount of value. What is your strategy generally? Obviously, we've seen the emergence, probably since we last talked, the emergence of that, of the hybrid carrier, of all sorts of different ways of doing MGAs. So aggregating a lot of MGAs, incubating, aggregating, acquiring, and then almost directly connecting them to reinsurers, for example, and doing that in the smart way and having a bit of skin in the game with the balance sheet as well. It's really, really interesting the way these things have developed. And not all of it looks like these are cyclical things. Some of them look like this is a genuinely new model, a new way of doing things that will be permanent.
Yeah, I think I would have been one of the people who would have said, oh, this is definitely a cyclical thing. And it's definitely not. Definitely not. It's here to stay. MGAs are providing an important role in the market. For us specifically, we have our Verita MGA in the US. We'll be launching that in Great Britain and in Europe later this year. And I think that it's a really important part of the strategy. Our MGA strategy is sort of like niche products where there's a scarcity of capacity, and also a way to distribute our Willis proprietary facilities throughout the group.
Yeah, because I suppose they have to take the format of being an MGA, don't
Yeah.
something that you're technically doing the underwriting on
Yeah.
behalf of those capital providers.
Yeah, but definitely a strategy that I can't see going away.
Do you see Verita as a sort of a big aggregate thing, or do you see it as a lot of individual niche, more traditional MGAs where there's an underwriter who really knows something pretty niche and therefore they're going to get backing from the market?
Yeah, we see it as addressing specific needs in the market.
And would you say that permanence in the change? So my pet theory about that would be that probably technology and removing all those frictional costs. Back in the paper days, we knew that an MGA is going to add 10, 12 and a half points to everything. And if you go through too many of those, then you can only support
I recall the days very well.
You need to be writing a 30% loss ratio, otherwise you're going to lose money because you're adding 60% of cost all the time.
Yeah.
Now with the technology, and if we're going to be removing all this friction, which is going to be great, do you think that has allowed underwriters, therefore, just to be underwriters and say, well, before I had to be attached to a balance sheet because that was the only way you could do it. And now I can sort of,
them to be
I can
attached.
value my underwriting
I
talent.
like them to be attached to a balance sheet. I like that.
Because the client can get paid more easily.
Yes. I respect the new model, but I like for them to be attached to a balance sheet.
But these days, they're attached with much longer term deals. They're doing 3 or 5 year deals with their paper. I suppose it's almost like having a balance sheet, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
But so that's not the kind of thing you're going to be doing. So those MGAs are really there because they're very niche. They're very specific. There is a problem the insurance industry is not very good at solving. Here's someone they've got an answer, and now we can aggregate the capacity behind them to do that.
Yeah, and you can move fast.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a difference, is being able to respond quickly, which is really important.
What you've said about that, it sounds like M&A was another part of the strategy. It sounds like M&A strategy is going to be bolt-on type, i.e. you found someone doing something very specific that you're perhaps not doing, and you're thinking, this is great, and you're going to add this to the family. Is that the right way of describing it?
I wouldn't really limit it to that. I would say that, of course, during the last 3 years, For reasons that are totally understandable, we've been somewhat out of the market while the business was reshaped. But Willis is a big business in geographies all over the world, in every segment of the business, in every client segment, in every specialty line. So there will be a lot of opportunities. So I think for us, and hopefully for the people that we acquire, cultural fit will be really important. I think we would be an amazing home for certain types of businesses. And obviously for those businesses, it will be important to them as well. So
it sounds like potentially bigger and more generalist deals as well, perhaps with geography attached.
I'd go with as well, because obviously those specialty bolt-on ones are important.
It sounds like if you've kind of fallen off the investment banker's Christmas card list, you want to get back on again. So do call us. We don't want to assume that we're not in the market. We are, right?
Yeah, and they've been great. We've had lots of stuff to look at. And
so, yes, so all the investment bankers listening, then Lucy is open for business and she's interested.
Yeah.
So she doesn't to be snubbed.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Obviously, one of the other big stories is getting back into reinsurance. So tell us all about that. How are you going to do it?
Okay, so I'm hugely excited about the reinsurance business. And so in terms of like, what can people expect from the reinsurance business? Well, I guess overarchingly, it will be a reinsurance business led by reinsurance brokers. Of course, it's an independent platform. We are very lucky to have Bain, who've been amazing to work with. They bring huge firepower, of course.
They bring brain power, don't they? That's the thing.
Absolutely. Real operational expertise. They have a track record of building innovative businesses in this industry. So that part has been really great. Of course, as WTW, we have the ICT business, so all of the technology solutions to offer. And then we have Willis, the insurance broking business around the world. Everybody is very excited to support the build out. And I think we have a real once in a generation opportunity to build a reinsurance business of quality and scale, and very, very excited about that.
It is rare because Willis has been around for hundreds of years. And so, Willis really been around for a long time, and then it was not here anymore. Now you get someone saying, right, in 2025, you get to design a brand new reinsurance broker from scratch, but of course, with the resources of a very large global broking house behind it. How do you do it? What's the ideal? So how joined up would it be? For example, I suppose the trend of the last 10 years is probably the global broking houses is for the reinsurance broking to become a bit more joined up with insurance broking. Would it be that? Would you be?
Yes.
Well, obviously, if you're starting from scratch, presumably you'd want it to be plugged into that global broking platform.
Yeah, that's part of the attraction of the deal, is to have Willis behind it, enthusiastic about it, and we are. And how we will do it, well, it's a lot harder than I imagined to stand up a totally independent platform. The team's been phenomenal. They've got multiple entity setups across geographies around the world, tax filings, regulatory registrations, directors filings.
Yeah, you can't just turn up, can you? Because you need a license.
Right. I mean, it is a phenomenal amount of work to set up the platform, and they've done a great job on that. So our plan is an organic build, but it doesn't mean that anything else would be off the table, but that is our plan.
Could be some M&A involved in that.
If it made sense, there could be, yeah.
Okay. And what sort of time frame are you working to? Maybe you can't say, but there are milestones, and I'm sure your board's going to say, right, at X years, we hope we've got somewhere. And you can say officially, obviously, when we can kind of buy out Bain and fully consolidate them back into the Willis family.
Yeah. So that is an option for us to acquire the whole business at a point in the future. And that is our goal, to do that.
I suppose that's also the great advantage, is because you can do this in private.
Yes.
And you don't have annoying people like me asking you questions. And you don't have to have the analysts asking you every quarter, how's it going?
Yeah. And I think that it will be self-evident how it's going.
I suppose, yeah, because we'll see. When we start seeing the news flow, it's when you pick up the newspaper and it says, Willis Re hires X. And you think, and it'll be a sort of step back. Oh, that's interesting, because that's someone who's incredibly senior or important or whatever, who's buying into this.
Yeah.
Then I suppose that'll be the moment, won't it? Because that hasn't happened yet. So we'll wait for those sort of shock and awe announcements to come.
We're psyched about that part. Yeah, but that will be a little bit later down the road.
You'll be keeping your media team busy and keeping all of us in the media busy, of course. What about Lloyd's? We're in a really interesting time at the moment. You rarely have the chairman and the CEO and then CFO all changing at the same time.
Specifically, you never have that.
You sort of never,
Yes.
right? I don't remember that ever happening. It was sort of maybe a 2 or 3 year cycle. You
Yeah.
know, every 2 years, one of them will change and then
Yeah.
get the next one along. So by this time, it creates an interesting sort of dynamic that you'll have a brand new Lloyd's. So I'm sure one of the first calls would be when the new team is in place, would be come over and have lunch or sit by the fireside or whatever happens. Then they're going to be canvassing in the sort of first 100 days, asking you, well, what do you want us to do? What would be top of your list of things to say, well, you know, here's a new regime. What do you want it to be like?
Well, that sure would be nice if they were calling up the brokers and asking them for their perspectives, because that is really important. And that would be one of my big pieces of advice is please consult on the stuff that will matter to our clients. It's not that nice to be surprised. Just let us know what your plans are. Let the broking community have some input. So I think that's important. I also think that because of where we are in the cycle, there'll probably be some natural concern about underwriting discipline, but to not be overzealous on that, right? And let the guys write their books. And we talked about rating adequacy earlier. And two other things, I guess. On this emerging risk stuff, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of silly to call cyber an emerging risk, but where there are emerging risks, I'm a huge supporter of Lloyd's. Of course, I'm a London person, so I think of Lloyd's as the center of insurance, and I want them to continue to have that reputation. So I just think it's important to continue to have that reputation, to be responsive and act quickly, to be able to find solutions to some of these challenges our clients are facing. And so enabling that, Lloyd's enabling that will be a very meaningful thing. I want them to do practical stuff. So every time we apply to have a facility, I want them to just speed it on through and hopefully solve the digital blueprint to stuff.
I suppose, yes, we can all solve that expense ratio together.
Yes.
And Blueprint 2, say, was a very high priority, obviously, because that early part of the conversation we just had, it sounds like you're getting your house in order and you're confident that you're going to be hitting your digital goals by the end of 26. You'd like to be able to know that the back office in London would be ready.
Just, I mean, I guess the new person will have a new name for it.
You want it to finish.
Yes, I want to finish, yeah.
Yes, so I think I had a previous guest said, decide what exactly is doable and then do that, and do that quickly.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose it's interesting culturally. Maybe if we were sitting here 30 years ago in that sort of mid-90s, perhaps you and I, Lucy, we'd have half the people in the room be saying, I don't want this to happen. And now we're so long past that now.
Yeah.
It feels everybody wants it to happen. They want it to have happened already.
Yeah.
And they're frustrated it hasn't quite happened. It sounds like what's coming through in your tone of voice as well.
Yeah, and I think maybe that type of sentiment might be why it's taken so long. But definitely we are on the cusp of it. That is without question.
And I suppose it makes it more frustrating because it's so close.
Yeah, exactly. But it will be transformational for the industry. I think it'd be great to give our clients that type of experience where they have a kind of a light touch experience and get everything they need at inception when they need it. I think it'd be great for them as well.
You know, it's a great platform for risk, but now if it was a great platform operationally as well, you'd say, well, why would we not be using this? And of course, if you've got that digital distribution, you know that people in your global network could be pressing a few buttons and some of that could be placed automatically with no friction whatsoever.
Yeah.
That could be quite powerful.
Be wonderful.
Well, a big part of you joining Willis is almost like a pitch to the talent, that we know that some of that talent, you know, you mentioned earlier that, you know, some of that talent didn't see themselves part of a big merged global entity. And your joining is almost like a physical kind of manifestation of a statement of intent, I would say. So what's your pitch to all the people out there and people working for you and also who you want to be working for you in the future? What have you got to say to them?
Well, maybe just what was attractive to me about joining Willis. Well, I have always had kind of a little bit of an obsession about Willis. And during the Aon thing, I talked about it incessantly. I don't know. I think I was sort of reacting to what I saw as the injustice of the whole thing. And this incredible brand, this brand that represented quality and integrity, the idea that the brand would be gone and there wouldn't be a Willis. I talked about it a lot anyway. And then when everything happened and the merger got terminated, I guess for me, the thing that was really attractive about joining is to see how people reacted here. And I thought that was a phenomenal performance. I thought it was something I really wanted to be part of. You know what it takes to be a person who works here in a moment like that and to stay when you could leave. And a lot of those people, believe me, I tried, could have left, but they stayed. I just thought I wanted to be part of that. I think a lot of the people who have joined since are people who are up for the fight. And so that's really what's attractive to me about it, is joining the people that work here. And I think that we have a lot of advantages. We have, as we talked about, that tech advantage, analytics. We have those people. The people are phenomenal, very resilient, obviously. And I think we have the credentials to go up against the biggest global players. And I think we probably want it a lot more than they do. So I think it's going to be a great place to be.
When I'm sitting with Willis executives over the years, you'd say, well, you're in a good position, aren't you? Because you've got more room to grow than the others, but you've still got the global platform, so you can really get on with it.
Yeah, that's right. Lots of opportunity. There isn't anywhere where we don't have opportunity.
Have you got anything else to add? I had a whole extra long list of questions, but I think we managed to rattle through them quite quickly.
Yeah, I would like to add something, Mark. I think really one of the biggest opportunities for us in this market is to really focus on the service that we're providing to our clients. I think that over the course of my career, I definitely see this as an area where the market is very inconsistent. And I think to be the broker that focuses relentlessly on the right service for our clients, and it isn't just the big bang stuff like we settled this amazing claim or we got this price in the market, but our debit notes are accurate, they're out on time, we provide you with certificates of insurance on time, we have aspirational ideas about when you should get these things. That is a massive focus for us, and I think it's a very attractive thing for people who work here and people who want to work here, because people in this industry are here to provide service to our clients. And so being in a place where you can really see that as a priority has been a great part of being here.
The disheartening part of my career, I remember sitting in Madrid, waiting for the cover notes to come back from London, waiting 2 or 3 months, and this huge, massive, thick paper.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that for clients. Clients should have a better experience, and that's really, really our focus.
For me, it was like, there's a 100-page document, and I now have to go through it, and there are probably 50 things that are wrong.
Yeah.
And having to kind of go back to London with the 50 things that are wrong and say, oh, don't worry, you know, but it was very demoralizing, thinking, God, this isn't great, is it? You know,
no,
it could be
and
better.
A client shouldn't have to experience that.
I mean, now, if it's all in a digital portal, you could self-certify, you can quickly, here's a certificate, wherever you want it, bang, you know, you could press a few buttons, and hopefully these things are all really good. Actually, you've just prompted me something I forgot to ask you, is where are you seeing the best opportunities? I mean, you've got this fantastic global view. Where are you most excited about? Sort of when you're putting your budgets together and saying, right, I love this line, this is going to be really good.
Well, I think we've had the most success with the specialty strategy. And so that is yielding a lot of opportunities. So we're continuing to focus on that. And then we're just trying to improve the service in our client segments, like in the SME segment, to make sure that we have technology solutions to improve our clients' experience there. But I see the specialty areas as probably our biggest opportunity.
The way that the world is, everything's getting more complicated. There are new things coming out all the time. And literally this morning, you know, private companies putting rovers on the moon, which would have been the sole domain of NASA only 20 years ago. It seems like opportunities are abounding in really complicated and quite technical things.
I think for our clients, they are in every industry. They're all different sizes, but they really share this being in a really complicated, complex, connected risk environment. And so really helping people try to unravel that, I think, is part of the trick today to really being a good insurance broker.
Well, Lucy, thank you so much for that extra. We're obviously always exceeding expectations, Lucy.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, make sure you come back on the show very soon, because things seem to be moving pretty fast. So I want it to be not 2 years wait in between meetings.
Yeah. Good. I look forward to it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe or leave a like or a review or recommendation on whatever podcast platform you used to access this programme. These really help get the word out. Before we go, just a quick reminder that advertising slots are available here and in other places in the Voice of Insurance podcasts. Podcasting is the fastest growing medium and attracts a high quality audience of key decision makers. It's also an intimate medium where you, the listener, are right in the room with me and the interview subjects. Needless to say, that means it's a great way of getting your message out directly to an audience because you know you've got their full attention. It's also very cost effective. So get in touch with Mark at thevoiceofinsurance.com to find out how you could be speaking directly to the industry. The Voice of Insurance is produced in association with Advantage Go. Release your underwriters to underwrite with Advantage Go's underwriting platform. Voice of Insurance is produced by me, Mark Gagan. Music was written by Anna Gagan and produced by Carlos Gagan. Check out more podcasts and written comment pieces at www.thevoiceofinsurance.com.